So we move forward then to talk about companies. We'll actually start with business-to-business selling. So why am I picking remote selling as an example? So before the pandemic, the digitization of B2C selling was very well established, right? Everybody saw it as the future. However, in business-to-business selling, it was much earlier days. On average, business-to-business selling is a much more complicated, much more multi-stakeholder process. On average, it's a longer process. And there's many different roles involved between who places the order and who's the actual decision maker and so on. So conventional wisdom has been, it's been much harder to digitize. And while it is harder to digitize, the pace of change in the last 3 months has been enormous. You're probably all aware of that. But maybe what's more surprising is how much your customers are actually happy with digitized business-to-business selling. So our data here is from a survey of about 1,300 people who've tried buying things remotely in the business-to-business world. And on average, they prefer it. Why do they prefer it? It's easier to schedule. It's more efficient. It's faster. Sometimes there's assumptions about better price. Often there's assumptions about better technical support or better service or responsiveness. And in fact, when you step back and you say, do you want this to stay? 50% of people say they actually don't want to see your customer sales representative ever. Now, that's what they're saying. I'd be surprised if the behavior shift is really as dramatic as that. But if the behavior shift is even a half or a third as dramatic as that, that means some very profound things for how companies sell to each other. So let's talk about what those profound changes might look like. So we think right now we're in generation 1.0 of digital selling. And what that means is taking how selling was done in person and moving it online. So meetings like this that happen by video that would have been in person, or automating the transactional parts of the process, or e-commerce and digital marketing from B2C and with the analytics that goes with it applied to a B2B environment with a similar set of sort of traditional selling metrics. But what we're beginning to see is what we're calling generation 2.0 in B2B selling. And this has a few characteristics whose relevance is going to vary a little bit by industry. So first of all, immersive experiences, whether it's AR or VR, or whether it's still on a flat screen but in a much more engaging way, how can you actually change the selling experience that happens online? Or the second one here, one of my favorites, this is a very inelegant phrase, the digital exhaust. But if you think about a meeting like this, or any discussion you have with any supplier or any customer in the last few months, if you're doing that on a video app, if you are doing that by email or by text, you're generating a digital exhaust of duration, of speech patterns, of keywords, and so on. And companies that can tap into that, and we name Gong.io here as an example, but there are several. Companies that can tap into that and can analyze it can yield incredible insights, or have the potential to yield incredible insights for driving the effectiveness of your selling efforts going forward. What we think is going to happen is not the full replacement of the human, but evolving the role of the human to focus on the highest value elements, and a move from episodic metrics that measure performance to really using data to drive performance. So let's click back up a bit to the bigger picture for the imperatives of the post-pandemic enterprise.